and you're just like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. So, hey guys, welcome and thank you for joining me, Jordan Schaffer. Hope I got your. I just asked you, and I already feel like I ruined it.
Schiefer. That's all right. It's close
Schiefer. What a great start to this. But we're going to dive right in here. I'm so excited you decided to join me. I'd love if you could just kick me off and my guests and let everyone know here, or audience rather, a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind. We're kind of getting to know each other right on the spot. Super excited to dive into this. And so, first of all, thank you so much for joining and taking some time out of your day. And second of all, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's great to meet you, Larry. So yeah, I'm an avid, I guess, car enthusiast, tech enthusiast. My background is in IT and video production. So automotive journalism was kind of a natural progression of those, and then the IT part as well. So it's just like EVs was just coming, like filming EVs is all of my passions into one thing. That being said, I don't own an EV, and we'll talk about that later, but I just haven't found one that really gets it for me. So I have a very raw manual transmission Miata that I come home to every day. So that's my
fun, though.
Yeah. It was a very calculated. I'm a very calculated person. So that was a decision. That was months of research to figure out what I wanted and pull the trigger. And I'll plan on owning it forever. But yeah, I've just gotten into the EV and car journalist scene in the past year. Met Kyle about a year ago, Kyle Connor. So I do stuff with Out of Spec Studios. I have my own other YouTube channel and stuff that I do called Flywheel Films, and just have fun with other car people. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just kind of stumbling into the almost a very similar journey, and it's just a fun little subculture of YouTube almost. It's like a lot of cool guys I've been meeting so far, and yeah, it's really fun. And like you said, I think we have very similar interests. I was like a video marketing guy, so I love making videos. And then I got obsessed with electric bikes and electric cars and stuff. So yeah, we both kind of fell into a similar situation, which is pretty cool. I want to dive right into what you were saying, though, because we were talking about it just before we started recording, and how it seems like, as amazing as electric cars are, I'm obsessed with them. Like, don't get me wrong, but none of them are checking all the boxes. Either they're perfect, but they're like, way too expensive, or I don't know. There's always something. There's a funny in the mountain bike world. It's like you pick two: cheap, durable, and what's the other one? Light. So you could have you can only have two. It's either expensive and light or expensive and durable, but you can't have all three. So I don't know. It's a fun little metaphor that I think also goes with EVs.
Yeah. It's so I do want to pick your brain on bikes too. We just started getting into e-bikes.
Okay.
So that's a whole new genre. Haven't really touched non-electrified bicycles. I mean, I've learned to ride a bike when I was 6 or whatever, but like a lot of people, but never really got into it. E-bikes really piques my attention, and mountain biking especially. I think the electric vehicle that has actually taken my heart the most is actually Zero motorcycles. Just spending a lot of time on those, especially in the mountains, like the DSR, the dual sport kind of race version, where it's meant to be road capable, but like really good off-road as well. That sense of freedom it instilled in me was awesome. Of course, the sense of freedom is somewhat removed when you have to calculate charging, but I feel like range is never as big of a deal as people make it out to be, especially if they've never encountered an EV. Everyone who has range anxiety before buying an EV needs to live with one, and then understand it's really not much different than a gas car. And when you buy a gas car, you don't think, how many miles does this get on a tank? You just don't think that. And you think about the range with the EV, because charging's not 5 minutes, it's like 20 minutes, which is not that much longer. Of course, some cars can be a lot slower, and there's always the issue with charging rate, charging curves. No one really understands that. It's not widely talked about, and manufacturers don't advertise it. So all you see when you're getting a Taycan is, it does over 250 kilowatts of charging. That's awesome. And no, that's only for a small portion of it.
Yeah,
so
this window.
Yeah. But yeah, I just haven't found an EV for me yet, partially because of, like you said, there's the cost factor and the range and all that. I mean, there's small EVs out there, and I'm a very small car person. I love tiny cars, hence the Miata. Before that, I had a
Right.
Fiat 500. That's just, I love it. Um, but there's just no real like electric roadster. Yes, Tesla Roadster. I've driven it. I wanted one. I thought about trying to buy one until my friend who owns one that I drove kept having issues. And to fix it, he had to fly out the mechanic from Seattle because
Whoa.
Tesla won't even touch those. So, not a great daily driver. Mostly because if something goes wrong, if nothing goes wrong, great. I mean, no power steering. It's a very raw experience. That captured my attention, but there's too many asterisks, and now they've gone to like $100,000. So it's just
For the
unreal.
old ones?
Yeah, the old ones
Yeah,
have
I've never shopped
skyrocketed in
for them.
price.
Oh,
Yeah,
wild. So if
but
you could frame like what is it that is it just like a fun zippy EV like or what are the reasons other than maybe cost or the things that you are looking for in your dream spec EV if you could just go into the factory and build it yourself, what would you do?
yeah, I mean, the new Tesla Roadster, which we're still, it's like the what 2019 Tesla Roadster, and it's 2022, we still don't have it type of thing.
Right.
That capsulated so much. I mean, the everything but the price is perfect for me.
Sure.
Like the size, the range, like the range is ridiculous. I mean, it really was too good to be true, which is why we don't have it yet. But 621 miles of range, more power than I need. I don't need something that powerful. I don't need something with that much range. I'd be happy with 200 miles on a charge, because I've calculated even my long commute days, that would be plenty of fuel for me or charge.
And probably for
So
most people too. I think to go, I'm only
100%.
bringing this up because you kind of already said it earlier. Like you have that magic number in your head when you're car shopping, like it's got to have 300 or 400 or whatever these impossible numbers are. But in real life, like other than on long trips, I never need more than like even 150 miles on like a really, really busy day. So like you have a great point
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So my first electric road trip was, me and Kyle took his Model 3 Performance to Las Vegas for CES just 2 months ago. And that was my first road trip in an EV.
Oh,
And his car has over 100,000 miles, had some issues. We never really went more than 120 miles between charges. And some chargers were a bit slow. They actually, that route from Denver to Vegas is actually one of the few routes that's better on CES or CCS than it is on Tesla, which is interesting, because most people associate Tesla with supercharger perfection. But that, I mean, I was fine. Like, and maybe it's just because of the way I work. Like, I'm in a way I'm always working, but it doesn't really drain me because I just balance my time. So if I'm on a road trip in an EV, I'm going to sit on this charger for 40 minutes. Great. I'll do some emails, do some
yeah, yeah, yeah.
editing, like catch up on stuff. I view it as like a nice little break. And it was actually a year ago, I took my Miata to see my brother in Dallas. And that trip, I almost, as a test case, drove the Miata as I would an EV. So every stop, I actually waited longer and took my time, stretched, and I made a few more stops just intentionally. And I got to Dallas 13 hours later feeling so good. Like, usually I've done that drive and I'm like exhausted, need food and sleep. And this time I was like, I could do it again. So it's amazing how you stretch it out a little bit, give yourself some breaks, and you feel better.
Yeah, man. And there's a certain type of people that really like for like I think we're both in the same book here because like even when I didn't have an electric car, I'm the guy who, if you're on a road trip, we're stopping at gas stations just to hang out for like 5 minutes because I get bored. Like I don't know if it's the ADD in me, but like I'm driving a car for this long, like I just need to pull over and like grab like just eat like a sparkling water or something just for something to do
Yeah.
other than being on the road. Like as much as I really enjoy driving, but like on long trips, it's just same old, same old. However, the contradiction there is ever since I did get my Tesla, it's been like, well, I actually enjoy driving a lot more. Maybe I'm still in kind of like the honeymoon stage where like I don't need to do those breaks, but I welcome them. They're not like the end of the world, to your point. It's like there's so much you could do. You could edit videos or I don't know. There's all this stuff you could do during that 20 minutes that just gives you an opportunities, if anything.
Yeah, the Tesla grasps a lot that I love,
Hmm.
because it is simple. Some people complain about the materials aren't premium enough or the build quality. I've never personally had any issues. I've driven dozens of them. And even the slowest Tesla is plenty fast,
Sure.
which is why there's a lot of other EVs that are even slower. And it's totally fine. I mean, a lot of these people are cross shopping CUVs that go 0 to 60 in like 8.5 seconds. So electrification is just almost like a cheat code to more speed than most people needs.
Hmm.
And the Tesla is just so simplified. I really like it. And I just wish there was even a bit more integration. Like, I get it. Even if it had CarPlay, I don't know if I would use that
I
because they
would. I
have
need it.
genuinely a great Tesla has a great UI,
Sure.
but sometimes I just want CarPlay, even if it was a small part of the screen. And even if it could take a step further where it's like, okay, I'm at a charger, hit my seat memory, which moves my seat all the way back, pull my laptop out, press a button, and it extends my laptop display to the center display. That would be awesome. I don't know if someone can do
I was
that,
gonna say, you
make
probably
that a
wouldn't be
thing.
too hard, right? Just like HDMI, even just to like clone your mirror, your screen, or whatever. That'd be really cool. Now you're thinking.
Yeah.
So what is
Yeah.
it
Because I
that?
love the whole two monitor thing. So,
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off there. So what is it that like? It sounds to me like a Model 3 performance or something. Like, why isn't that something that you're interested in? Like, what's deterring you from that? Because it's still gonna be fast. It's zippy enough. It's not like Roadster sports car style, but is it not like
yeah.
not worth holding you over? You're just still waiting for like the perfect thing. I don't know why I keep digging in on this, but I'm curious.
No, yeah, it's a fascinating topic because it's weird. The Model 3 is still too big, and I've never been a
Too
sedan
big.
person.
Wow.
Yeah, I like so so with my affinity towards small vehicles and or hatchbacks, I've of course looked at the e-Golf, the i3. The i3 is actually a great size. I like that size a lot. And I've considered one, although if the i3 did 200 miles on a charge, I would consider that worth 20 grand. And it doesn't. And they're kind of at this point where they're a bit over 20 grand, and it's just not quite there for me. And I don't know if I'd want the range extender one. I would just like a battery electric vehicle. So that's piqued my interest. The e-Golf, of course, the Spark. But that's just kind of, I don't know, ugly. The Fiat 500e, if that did 200 miles, or if we got the new one in the US, I would give that serious consideration. That's like the size I like,
Okay.
but I still, assuming I keep my Miata, then I would be a great pair. But to replace, like, I always picture what is my one car solution.
Mm.
And I'm just waiting for that to be a replacement to the Miata because the Miata is my only car. I love pushing people's limits of their minds because I drive this Miata like 30,000 miles a year, which most Miata owners are like 5,000 miles. I road trip it all over the US, which people think you can't road trip tiny cars. And I drive it all through winter in Colorado, which people think is impossible.
That's probably the
So
most impressive one. Yeah.
I like breaking the quote unquote possibilities. And so I'm just waiting for, something like the new Tesla Roadster or of course the new Polestar O2 concept
Mm.
that if it came into existence would be perfect for me, but it, looks like easily a six-figure car. So I'm just waiting. Who's going to do it cheap? And I wish Tesla would. I wish Tesla would give me something with less performance, and I'm fine with the interior quality of the Model 3. I don't need anything nice.
Yeah.
I love nice interiors. Don't get me wrong. Volvo, amazing interiors. And even the new Model S, huge step up for Tesla. But if they could just dumb that down and make it smaller, give me less range, I don't care. I would love to buy that from them.
Yeah, I remember the rumors early, maybe late last year actually, of when they were talking of like some specs and stuff for that. They were calling it like the model, what was it? Model 2 or something, even though that would never be the name. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's kind of
Yeah.
what you're talking about. A little smaller, cheaper, same kind of insides. That might work, right? If it ever
Yeah. Something
happens.
kind of like that. If it ever
Yeah.
happens. And I'm really huge on convertibles too.
Mm,
So just really playing the waiting game. But I because I don't ever plan on selling the Miata, I don't care if there's an EV that's a replacement for it. Like I said, the new Fiat 500e would be a really good option. Although if I wanted something a bit bigger, I've of course looked at Ioniq 5 and EV6. So those are somewhat on my radar, maybe in like a facelift version.
Yeah.
But those are brands that have really intrigued me lately, and also the cars themselves. I don't know if it was the first, but it was the first documented road trip in EV6. I drove it 1,000 miles from Chicago to Dallas about a month and a half ago. And that was like such a comfortable car. I never had range anxiety. It definitely does suffer in the cold, cold gates, and they don't have a preconditioning for the battery yet, which is super silly. I don't know why they released
Does the
these two
Hyundai?
cars, and
Neither of them do?
nope. They released these two cars in winter with no preconditioning for batteries. So that was a horrible mistake. You can precondition it yourself.
Oh, okay.
Well, you can't
like
click a
actual
button. By that I mean, no, you
just warm it up.
By that I mean, you just warm it up, romp on it, yo-yo it, yeah. Which is possible. My first experience with that, and I mean, I guess that's something else we could talk about, is my best ever experience with an EV was the Taycan GTS Sport Turismo.
Okay, you and Kyle both.
It was a German.
All about that then.
I'm smitten. That's his dream Taycan. He has not yet driven that one. So I still have that over him at this, although he's driven everything else, but I've still driven his car. But they were German cars brought over here for the press drives, and which means no routing, like no on-route mapping, which means no on-route preconditioning. And I still wanted to get the maximum charge speed. So I basically romped on this thing and got it to like 100 degrees and got to the charger with 4% state of charge left. And which it's funny because all the other journalists who did the same drive arrived with between 30 and 50%. So you can tell how hard it was driven. And that really did work. I mean, it was like really nice and toasty, ready to
do you know what
like
rates
crazy.
You got compared to other people, like roughly?
No one else got the peak. I don't know what the peak rate is, but I saw the peak rate, I think 270 kilowatts. I saw that briefly. I think most everyone else, they still saw over 200. And as it warmed up the battery through charging, it took some more juice. But it was amazing to see that car charge from, I think, 4% to 50% in 10 minutes.
I mean, that's really good. Yeah. Like,
which is a lot of range too.
Yeah. That's really cool.
So,
that's awesome. So, man, I'm going to purposely derail this conversation just because there's something I want to get to, and I could talk about this all day. Totally. And hopefully people are enjoying this as much as I am, but I do want to pick your brain on the Lightning because that's what most people here are excited to hear about. I guess just dive in with it. You went to Detroit during like the early kind of reveals, right? Like when they were doing some press events there, I take it, or I don't know, fill me in. I'm guessing.
Yes. So this was super fun. It was actually my first event I ever went to after joining Kyle's team. So talk about being intimidated and going to basically Ford flew me to Detroit and then took me up to Michigan Proving Grounds where they do a lot of their testing and development. And this was for, the Lightning, eventually the early press days before it was unveiled to the world. So that was also my first time to be like, wow, I have all this amazing footage information and I can't tell anyone. Oh, no. It sucks. But, and then of course, if you remember, a couple days later, I think someone, because Biden went to go see it and someone from his office, I think, leaked it, which may have been intentional. I don't know. Like, I think Ford may have been like, don't share this, wink, wink, because it gave them a lot of press. I mean, but I like to joke that I got to ride in it before Biden, barely, by like a day. He was there the next day.
That's pretty cool.
But that was a really cool experience, just seeing the truck, the kind of the platform beneath it. And actually it was cool that they left me a Lariat, I think, F-150 at the airport to take over there. So I basically drove an hour from the airport to the Michigan Proving Grounds in the quote unquote old F-150, still the newest version, 14th generation. I don't know what they're on now, but it's that was such a great ride. I mean, you just get in the F-150 and it's like, would you like a massage and seat? Yes, of course. Then just drove over there, and it did a lot of its, self-driving, whatever they call that, Blue Cruise or whatever. And then getting to the Lightning and seeing that was just next level. And they were still developing the interior at this point. So it was very much, here's the exterior, here's sort of the interior, which was basically just, some of them had the mocked up like Mach-E screen in the center. Others didn't, and others had the interior completely closed, like tarped off, so you couldn't even see anything other than the seats and the seatbelts.
Interesting.
So that was interesting. And yeah, they broke it down into 3 parts. So let's see. My first part was with Linda Zhang. I don't remember what she works on with that, but she's one of the ones who unveiled it to the world on stage. And she is totally brilliant. And she took me on their high speed loop. So it's I think it's a 1 or 2 mile loop where they do their high speed testing. So they tested the Ford GT on this, got that up to over 200 miles an hour, and what you can do on the highest banked curve. I was like, are we doing this in the Lightning? She was like, no. But we still did a full launch. So 0 to 60 in roughly 4.5 seconds is what they quoted. I wish I had a draggy I stuck in my pocket to should have thought of that. Rookie mistake right there. And then just, did some simulations of what it would be like at high speed. So we had it up to about 100, and it's, the first thing you notice is just how quiet it is. And
you think it does a good job? Hey, sorry to cut you off. It's the Zoom thing that I feel like it's so awkward sometimes. But I'm curious on that, like, because you've driven a lot of EVs. Do you think it's good insulation? Like, I know people whine about the Teslas all the time that they're too loud or whatever. Do you think it stacks up or exceeds some expectations there?
I think it really, the whole thing with the Lightning is it's perfectly painting a picture of just F-150 as you know it, but electrified. So if you picture the highest end F-150 on the highway, this is extremely comparable in terms of the actual typical sound deadening, although you have a bit quieter because there's no powertrain or no engine in front of you. So that's where it was a bit quieter, but that's really why. It wasn't like they did all this extra stuff. It was just naturally there's no EcoBoost or V8 or anything in front of you, so it's just a bit quieter for that reason. So
it's probably got good insulation from the loud engine that its standard comes in. So if they just copy and pasted what they had, then it's probably going to do a good job out the gate if you think about it, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm actually really curious to, with most press events and even press vehicles we get for reviewing, they're pretty much always top of the line. I am really curious. I want to get behind the wheel of the $40,000 Lightning. I want to see what is base, what's bare bones. And I already know it's going to be impressive, having spent some time in the Maverick recently. That truck at such a cheap price feels so nice compared to what it should be in your head. Like the Maverick felt nicer than cars, sometimes double its price. So because
I agree.
Of that,
I just got to check one out recently too. It was really awesome. I was like, I could drive this. I was there at the auto show with my friend. I was like, this thing, like, we were kind of like teasing, like, look at the little truck a little bit, but then we're like, no way, it checks every box. If this was like electric, if this was an EV they offered, I think that's what I would gravitate to. Like, it's similar to the Rivian in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, it's got the cargo. It could handle all like my bike stuff that I need to lug around, but also it's still got some fun speed for the EV in me. And then it checks all the boxes. It's a really great car. It's gonna be a home or truck. So I guess it's kind of in between, but
yeah. I think the Maverick should be in every American garage. I mean, it's one of those things. Even if it's not your daily driver, everyone would benefit from it being somewhere in your fleet.
That's a pull quote if I've heard one.
I'm gonna put it on a shirt. But yeah, I just want the Lightning shrunk down because, again, I'm a small car person. So Maverick electrified, I can't picture a more perfect, this is my truck. Like that would be, because I'm not one likely to take a truck on a road trip anyways. So Maverick hybrid, yes, that's like perfect until they electrify it, and then that'll be perfect. But the Lightning, I mean, I was torn on what to think at first, because when I saw it, I was a bit underwhelmed although I kind of knew it would be Ford would play the conservative approach and just be like, the Cybertruck had recently been unveiled, and they were like, okay, well, we know we don't do that because everyone hates it, but then some people love it, and then people fight about it, and then it gets publicity. So, anyways, that's a whole Tesla's marketing is a whole other topic. But the Lightning, they played it very smart because F-150 is the most manufactured vehicle. I don't remember all the stats, but it's insane how many F-150s they sell. So this electrified could be the most popular electric vehicle on sale. And the fact that they kept it normal, as in has the same cab and same bed as the normal F-150, is great for people who have all their existing attachments or accessories. You hate buying a new device, like when Apple switched to Lightning from the 30-pin connector. Everyone was like, oh, now I got to buy all new charger cables and everything. So they played it safe in that regard, but still gave you, what you like, a nice driving experience. And it is going to be expensive, but so is the normal gas F-150 if you spec it up.
Very true. Very true.
So they have a good wide $40,000 to $96,000. That's a crazy wide array of here's your options. But I don't know. I think it's going to be great for a lot of people. It will be curious to see how it does on the range, because I know a lot of people that do road trip their F-150s, my parents included. And they have a 36-gallon gas tank. It's, they can go forever and not think about gas. And then when they do think about it, 5 minutes. So that will be interesting. Of course, towing, the efficiency. Towing is so incredible in electric. So after the high-speed loop, that was the second part, was the towing test. They took.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you guys got to do that there? Yeah, dive into that,
yeah,
please.
It was a trailer loaded down, I think, with 7,500 or 8,000 pounds. And I had one of their towing development engineers take me basically just towing it. And it was just, I had to keep looking in the mirror to see if there was a trailer there, because you don't feel the trailer. The truck is heavy because of the big battery pack. Yeah. And also the electric torque doesn't care. So we're just towing a trailer. And then he takes me up this huge, they have all these like series of hills and steep ascents and descents to test the trailer towing uphill, which again, didn't feel like we were towing anything. And then the descent, where they have the trailer assist, they have a name for everything, whatever they call it, where it's like trailer brake control and excessive regen. Now, I will be curious to see if that can be done extensively. TFL does a lot of testing out here with downhill, and uphill towing. And if it does downhill for long enough with regen, will it overheat anything? Because that's something that some vehicles do. So I'll be curious to see.
I know they added all the extra cooling in the towing one, so I'm guessing it does, so that must have been a reason they needed to add that. Yeah.
Yeah, you would hope so. But yeah, the towing package adds extra cooling. And it's really cool that the truck itself on the inside shows you all the things you'd want to know, like the temperatures of different systems, like subsystems. Like, I wish every car lets you be that nerdy. Of course, you can get an OBD2 reader and figure all that out, which we did on the Maverick. That was kind of fun. But yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. So yeah, those things are cool, and it kind of makes me want one for my own car. But yeah, it was just so impressive to tow with it. Of course, everyone's question then is, well, what's the range going to be? And that's just everyone's question for everything is, but the range. So we'll see. With just like technology in the last 20 years, it's going to get so progressively good, especially with battery density technologies and how efficient we can make things. So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic that the general public will adopt it more than they expect to. But I think this thing will sell like wildfire. Obviously, they can't keep up with order demands. And
so far, so good.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Do you know how many were actually like pre-ordered, I guess?
So pre-order amounts got to about 200K according to Ford, and then production for just this year, as you probably already know, already sold out. So no more 2022 sales, and they haven't officially given numbers, but I think what people are saying it's between 10 and 15K that they're producing. So leaving a lot of me on the other end of that, waiting for 2023 year. So we'll see on what happens there.
Yeah, I mean it's a great looking truck. It's one of those things where they didn't do some crazy new design, but they didn't really have to. I mean, Ford literally took the "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" approach. So I think it's totally fine. Maybe they'll do. I mean, they kind of broke the norm with the Mustang Mach-E, and so they kind of did the best of both worlds. They kept the truck how it should be, and they pushed the envelope with the Mach-E, and people are either obsessed with it or hate it. I haven't met that many people in the middle.
It's very polarizing. It's either it's most people I talk to are like just like for whatever reason mad they just took the name. Like they don't hate the car, they're just mad they call it Mustang. It's like get over it, people. I don't know. Maybe that's gonna get 6 comments just me saying that, but I don't know. I just don't care that much. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
so. While you were there, go ahead. Sorry, please go.
Mach-E is solid, and actually, while I was there, I saw the Mustang Mach-E GT Performance, which I hadn't even been like unveiled yet. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And it's like all these things I like would normally just take pictures of and post. It's like, wait, I signed something. I can't do that. And then they had a Taycan that was like partially disassembled. So it's like it's cool to see all the stuff they were studying and comparing to their own electrified things. And then I guess I should mention the third test was the off-road test. So I went with the Ford's chief off-road engineer, whatever that title is. And that was amazing. Took me through a bunch of like trails they have set up. Just it feels like very rugged, like you're suddenly in the middle of Michigan forests. And I was smitten. I mean, this thing
really
introduced me to the concept of off-roading with electric, which I didn't realize how big of a deal it is to like be off-roading in silence. And then like you just hear the wheels crunching things. That's literally all you hear. And then when you stop, it's just birds or bugs or whatever, which is awesome. So that taught me that I love electric off-roading, which has led to a lot of other things I've done after that. But that was like, I'm kind of glad I did that part last because that was like the best part in my opinion.
The cherry on top. Yeah. So you say you have the Rivian coming in a day or two, right? And but you've probably seen a lot of coverage on it. I thought that might be one advantage Rivian really dove into over the F-150 Lightning. They really steered it towards some of that overlanding and having fun out on the climbs and stuff like that. Now, do you think it's going to stack up, or sorry, will the Lightning meet the same check boxes as the Rivian, or will it fall short in some ways? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, so I think it will stack up in the sense of it'll hold the candle that anyone cares about. They are different. Their vehicles developed with different mindsets. The Rivian, they don't even call it a truck per se. They call it an adventure vehicle. And it's very capable for that, more so than F-150 Lightning. I'm not sure how dramatically more so, but I did spend some time with Rivian in California in November, doing like a couple of their first mile events, which is basically, it wasn't even just for journalists. That was for like general public to go experience the truck, especially reservation holders, and see like, oh, how do you feel about the color in person? Like, how about the wheel selection? And it was, first of all, these are some of the most incredible events I've ever witnessed. And then being in the truck, like in off-road scenarios, it was just unstoppable. And it felt, a term Kyle uses a lot that I've kind of adopted in my own vocabulary is spicy. The Rivian is much spicier than the F-150. It's so much faster, like a full 50% faster, or quicker to 60 per se, and the off-road capability with like over 14 inches of ground clearance and 4 individual motors. Their traction control systems seem to be excellent. And, you know, even like Doug DeMuro's video of him off-roading it, it's very, very capable. And you got to think about it with an asterisk, because most people, when they say, oh, I'm going to go off-roading, they're really talking about soft roading. Like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
going to
sure.
go down this dirt road and find a
Going through
camping
some
ground.
mud. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe there's a mud and a little creek. Like, I've done that in a Ford Escape, and most people wouldn't. But the F-150 will tackle pretty much anything that most people will throw at it, and then some. And then Rivian will do more than what anyone would even think to throw at it. Like, are you familiar with The Long Way Up, that TV show that came out?
No, not.
Oh, okay. Top recommendation for you and all the listeners.
All
That's the
right, writing it
show.
down.
Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, he did he's done the long way around and the long way down back in the early 2000s with BMW motorcycles, basically driving around the world in a motorcycle and then driving from like north to south. And this was south to north. So this was the tip of South America to, they only stopped in LA. I think they should have gone to Alaska, but they did it all electric this time.
Whoa.
And instead of BMW, they chose Harley Davidson Livewire motorcycles, and the
Nice.
support vehicles were VIN 1 and VIN 2 Rivian R1Ts. So the
Really?
first Rivians, which that if I was Rivian, I would have been like really scared, because it's like these are test mules. The interior is
Yeah.
not even finished. It's like a black box with like toggle switches, and they trusted these on Apple TV's like hit show that's going to get millions of views to operate. And the fact that the trucks did it and the bikes, after finishing that show, I was like, I need a Rivian and an electric motorcycle.
Yes, man. That sounds so sick. I'm gonna watch that tonight.
Absolutely.
You said it's on Apple
so
TV?
good. Yeah.
All
So
right.
if you don't have it, get the free trial and you can binge it real quick.
Yeah, there you go.
But great. Yeah. So that's what really turned me on to Rivian.
Uh-huh.
Just seeing them in action. And I would love to own one. Of course, the price is a bit up there, and even the recent news, even more up there. So,
Well,
it's one
no,
of those
same
things
price. You just get half the amount of motors.
yeah. So for the one I would want, definitely get a bit
Yeah,
higher price.
for
But
sure.
I don't know. The Rivian and the Lightning both were like, and the Maverick. I was never a person ever to consider a truck. And those three vehicles have made me think maybe I have a little bit of truck person in me, just somewhere in there.
I think the same thing happened to me. And, to put a bow on this, like from our beginning of our conversation, it seems so odd because like I complain, I have a Model Y, which is one of the most roomy electric cars you can get right now, right? Like it's got tons of room, but just I haul things, not just like stuff. And it's hard to make that work, but I want to stay electric so bad. And the only other thing is this, or that I could get within the next couple months or whatever, is the Lightning. Now, is that the perfect vehicle? Still probably not, but I could at least do everything that I'm used to doing with something like that. And it goes just, to go back to our beginning, like it's so hard in this brand new frontier of like EVs, of like finding that perfect vehicle, where in the ICE world, there's almost too many selections because you could find like four things to check all the boxes. But it's harder to do on this new world, but it's fun at the same time because it is so new. So I don't know.
I was going to say, so if they, there's so many ICE vehicles, you're right. If they were to, so basically when an electric vehicle comes to market, it's either a ground up new platform or it's an adaptation of an existing platform, like an ICE vehicle gone electric, or it's a new platform with an ICE vehicle name or history or something to it. What is there an ICE vehicle out there that you would just love to see become electrified in some manner that hasn't been?
Yeah, and I, not to just stay on the truck world, but like I think it's like a Tacoma is kind of what I'd really like to see. Just I guess a Rivian kind of is that, which is why it's like a lame answer almost, but it's smaller because I honestly, I don't love being in a giant truck, because like I drive my dad sometimes and I'm just like parking, taking 6 times like to try to park like a total rookie. But like something smaller that's still big but can still haul stuff. And I think like a Tacoma size is kind of perfect, and I'd love to see, I bet Toyota is going to have something cool with that, hopefully within the next couple of years.
Yeah. I will say BZ4X has me a little nervous on Toyota's electrification strategy, but
Yeah.
I think the Rivian is such a good size. It's definitely bigger than you expect, like definitely not like full size F-150 big, but not Tacoma small. But I think it's a good size for most people. I think they actually hit the sweet spot pretty well there.
Yeah.
But I would love to see something between Rivian and Maverick
Sure.
size,
So even a
which I
little
know
smaller.
we're like picking at the
We're getting a
details
little
now, but
picky. Yeah.
just a, if I could design my truck, it would
Right.
just be a Rivian, just a tiny bit smaller,
Yeah.
barely. But I think it genuinely is about perfect. Something interesting, I don't know, at least when Motor Trend had it and when I saw it in California, there's no power outlets in the front, which I think is a very interesting missed opportunity
For
because
Rivian?
forward, I mean, yeah,
Oh,
at
really?
least not on those vehicles. That could be something they were still developing because that's always the caveat they give is, well, these are pre-production.
Yeah.
Don't judge us. Um, but I think they could do a bit more with the frunk, and there was no drain plug in the frunk, which I mean, so there goes your whole tailgating out of the frunk situation. Um, but it's cool to see. I think I like the way Rivian's approaching electrification because they're doing it with a very like, how does this fit into your lifestyle? By doing an adventure vehicle first, which I don't think would sell as well as a generic CUV, but they're doing adventure first, and then all these first mile events, they have little stations that you can go. Like they have a truck sitting in front of a like a cabin lean-to type thing with every single thing that you could picture putting in the truck, like skis, baggage,
Yeah.
football, soccer ball, even various sizes of stuffed dogs, so you could see how your dog would fit.
That's
and
awesome.
of course, people had their real dogs with them, so they like put their real dogs in the front and like
That's fun.
And it's just like they encourage
Don't
people
do
to
that,
like
by the
climb
way.
all around these.
Don't-
Oh yeah,
Don't put your dog in the front of your car.
it is funny. Rivian has an entire Instagram dedicated to dogs with Rivians, and that's
Oh, that's
where
kinda cool,
a
huh?
Rivian. That's where a Rivian person posted that photo of a dog in the front, which was adorable, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if it's saying the right thing.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, cute as long as you're parked. Yeah, as long as
Yeah.
you're parked, it's good.
And I don't know if they have like a dog mode per se, but I'm sure they're
They
going to
will, right?
come up with one. I don't know if they can even call it that, but I would love to see their version of that because their version of Sentry mode, the gear guard, is way more adorable.
Is that with like
than
the little Yeti,
Tesla's.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fun.
I love that. I love the Bluetooth. I'm doing a full review on the Bluetooth speaker. The
Oh,
one
yeah,
that
the one
slides
that
out
comes
from the
with
center
it.
console. Yeah, I'm like an audiophile too, so I'm
Oh.
like really excited. I mean, the truck has an amazing Meridian sound system, and the speaker was also developed by Meridian, so it really does sound amazing. I got to like play with it for the first time at the hub in Venice, and it was like really impressive.
That's cool because it could have been just an easy and let's do a Bluetooth speaker and then they just put whatever in there. So the fact that it's
Yeah.
actually good is kind of news to me. I knew for sure it should be average or whatever, but the fact that it's impressive is pretty good to hear.
Yeah, I'm a stickler, and I have, to me the HomePod is about the best out there,
Oh,
but
really?
it's not it has to be plugged into a wall. There's no battery component to it. So this was very close to HomePod sound quality, but completely portable. I was blown away.
Great. What other good Bluetooth
So-
speakers would you recommend? I just bought one. Have you heard of Ultimate Ears? I ended up going with that.
Yeah, so that was my first.
Yeah.
Actually, it was like 10 years ago at this point, or more actually. It was the Ultimate Ears Mega Boom, and then the normal boom. That was what they had back in the day. And that was really good for the time. And it was like water resistant. And that was like when people were first doing like stereo pairs. So that was my like easy go-to. In fact, my first car was a 1987 Dodge Aries, which had no radio. And so I stuck an Ultimate Ears between the headrests, and that was my speaker.
That rules. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So I made a good
Yeah.
choice because I'm not good at picking that kind of stuff out. It's okay then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a solid choice. And actually for the money, I think one of the better ones. There's better ones out there for
Sure.
way too much money.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Well, man, I think we're here at about the 45-minute mark, which I'm keeping these roughly. I don't know. I'd love if you guys could comment. Should these go longer? I feel like I could talk to Jordan all day, but at the same time, I don't know what to do with these yet. So I don't want to end it quite yet, but I'd love if you could just leave me with one thing that you're really excited about in the EV world. It doesn't have to be EVs or in the car world in general. One thing that you are just, whether it's like a innovation that you want to see in the near future, or if it's something that's actually coming out soon. Is there anything that you're super excited about that you'd like to talk about to wrap this up?
Yeah, on one hand, it's like there's so many things, but I think if I could dumb it down, it's the aspect of batteries getting better and smaller and more compact and more affordable, because that's basically what we're working towards. And that's what I heard in Elon's last battery day, like last year, was, he focused a lot on making battery technology cheaper, making it stronger, like integrating batteries into the structure of a car, which he used an example of a convertible that could have a structure like a windshield that's much stronger. And then he also talked about making cars cheaper. So all I heard from that, which is not at all what he said, was, "Oh, an electric convertible. That's perfect. That's affordable." So that's what I look forward to, kind of looping it back into what electric car I would want that doesn't exist yet. It's, an affordable Roadster. I'm not looking for luxury, because that's one thing that can make a lot of convertibles out there expensive, is just the luxury component. And that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the old British Roadster, the bare bones basics, like think Lotus, but think, I don't know, cheaper.
Sure. Yeah.
And that same mentality can translate to motorcycles. I mean, spending time with Zeros and seeing how they've progressed over the years, they're really doing a lot slowly. I mean, it's slower than I would like. So that's what I'm excited for in the future, is this ramp up as to what we can manage to squeeze into a vehicle. Because I'm looking for that day where people stop worrying about range.
Yeah.
Now, that could be today, and people just aren't used to it enough. But I really do think we're going to meet in the middle, with range is going to get better, but also people are going to realize they don't need as much range as they actually do.
Yeah.
And that sweet spot is a day I'm looking forward to. And I don't think you can nail it down to a day, but that general area is what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And it brings me to a thought of, like, do you think the number is probably like 400 or 500 to me, where as they innovate in miles, just a random number I want to talk about is 400. So around like 400 or 500 miles, like, once we hit that, I do see it going more towards like, well, now we just have to fit less batteries in the car. We're not going to keep going to 600 and 700. Sure, some might, of course, but like, there won't really be a need for that, in my opinion. So I kind of think it'd be cool to, instead of just like keep extending range, find a good number, and then maybe just, less weight in the car or whatever it is. And just, I don't know, there's a lot more they could do with that, which will be, I don't know, it's like kind of the flip side of things, but that might be even further out than I think, to hit that, especially, because when I immediately say that and be like, well, I don't know if people who tow will ever have enough range, right? Because they'll always want more and more and more. So there's just so many avenues for this to go. And I think that's why I'm so interested in the genre we're in right now. So I'm going to wrap it up here.
Time to be alive.
It really is. Like it sincerely is. So a sincere thank you, Jordan. I appreciate you taking some time today. Any plugs? I mean, everything is probably going to be linked down here, but I got to ask just in case. So just where can people find you?
Yeah, no, first, I appreciate you having me on, and anytime if you want to keep doing these conversations, bring me back on eventually. Like,
you bet, man.
There's always new stuff to talk about, and we're in this stage where everything's happening all at once.
Love it.
So I mean, if people want to keep track of my Miata and my adventures, it's at ghosty.miata on Instagram, awesome. And then at Jordan_Schiefer on Twitter is where I do a lot of my car stuff, posting news, everything. I live on Twitter a lot too, so yeah. Fun times. Awesome, man. Well, thank you again, and we'll wrap it up here. And everyone who's watching, thank you guys so much for making it to the end. You guys are troopers. Thanks. Bye.